Good afternoon and welcome to the Hornet Spotlight. And we are here with the newest member of the Hall of Fame for the month of May, selected by the High School's Renaissance Committee. Before we introduce her, we want to do a little backtracking. We were unable to get our alumnus of the month for April into Beech Grove to do the interview. And just a little note about that gentleman. The selection for April was Dr. Brent Swazi. Brent is a graduate of he actually is the youngest Hall of Fame member, became the youngest. He's a graduate of the class of 97, I believe. And he attended Indiana University, also did his medical school work there. And he is, right now, I think as we speak, he's still in Europe vacationing because he is finishing a residency in Colorado. And he's getting ready to do some fellowship work in Connecticut. So he's getting ready to move across the country. He is involved in OBGYN. That is the medical field he chose. And we were very pleased to recognize Brent Swazi as our alumnus of the month for the month of April. Today we are with a local girl. We got a girl who stayed close to home. And from the class of 1985, we have Terry Sinzabo. And Terry, congratulations, first of all, on your selection.
Thank you very
much. You've probably had the shortest trip of anyone we had all year. So it's kind of nice to have someone who is close by and has stayed close to the growth. Terry is, like I mentioned, from the class of 1985. And I did a little research this morning, and she is just the second member of her class that we have selected. So, and actually the first one was just last year. So, the second member of the class of 85. Terry also, by virtue of being selected in May, completes the 17th year that the Renaissance Committee has been selecting alumni, and that means she represents the 153rd member of our Alumni Hall of Fame, and we are very proud of each and every one of them, and we'll end the year 2010 on a very high note with Terry Sinzabo. Terry, again, congratulations. And in 1985, we were in this building. You were in this building. Yes. I wasn't. But you were in this building, and tell us about some of the things that you recall from your high school career here and some of the things that were going on in Beech Grove, in the city of Beech Grove.
Best part about high school, of course, I played basketball, volleyball. Those are probably my best memories, the most fun. They didn't have softball and soccer at the time at the high school. I played, but not in high school. Not a whole lot was going on in Beech Grove back then. About the same as it is now. School, I don't know. Miss Hurt had a big influence on me back in during high school. She was my coach.
I was going to say she was coaching the volleyball.
Yeah, she coached volleyball. And tennis, so we played tennis too. But she really pushed me, and kind of had a lot of influence on me. So.
And she's still doing that today,
Yeah.
except now it's golf instead of volleyball.
Yeah.
She's been a big influence on a lot of our students. Once you graduated, where did you go from here? Now, obviously you're back, but
right.
Tell us a little bit what's happened.
I never went far.
Never went far. Tell us a little bit about that.
In high school, I worked locally at a grocery store, which it was Lowell's. It's now Marsh over on Albany Street. And that was during high school. After high school, I went to work for the Marion County Sheriff's Department. I was in the civil office. I worked there for just about a year, and then started at the Beech Grove Police Department in 1987. I was 19, and so I started working for the city then, and I'm still working for the city.
Okay, at 19, what kinds of things could you do in the police department? What
I was strictly
there?
a dispatcher, call taker, 911, dispatch police, fire, ambulance, street department, dog catcher, all of the above.
So you were kind of a communication officer.
Yeah, communications, yes.
And you took the actual 911 calls?
Yes.
And that, now, is that?
It's a lot different now than it was then.
correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that when service was first
Yeah.
put in place?
It wasn't, of course, it wasn't the digital that you have today, and, you didn't have the caller ID and all that. So it was pretty basic. I mean, you got a phone call and you wrote everything down, where now everything's typed in. It was neat. It was a cool job as a 19-year-old. I enjoyed it. And I enjoyed it when I stopped doing that. 17 years I did that.
You must have enjoyed it if you
Yeah.
stayed with it for 17 years. And when you, as the position evolved, as 911 communications became more sophisticated, were you required to do more training, or
Yeah.
was it on the job stuff? How did that work?
A lot of training, a lot of different courses, just from answering calls to dispatching the calls. Everything went from writing everything on paper and logging what time an officer was dispatched to a certain address. Everything went from paper to computers. That was a big transition. And even the phones was a big transition. I mean, we used to hit a button on a phone, on just a regular phone, to alert the fire department that there, and that would set a tone off in the fire department. And now it's all done with computers and everything.
In your time in that position, who was the like the fire chief, the police chief? Who were the people you worked with in your offices at that time?
When I was hired at the police department, Chief Dan Chalice hired me. I believe the fire chief was Paul McDermott. So I worked with Chief Chalice, Mike Johnson, Mike Curran, and then Rich Whitmer as chiefs. Fire chiefs, there were a lot. There were several. But yeah, there was a lot of transition going on during that time.
And those positions were appointed by the mayor at that time?
No, dispatchers, no.
No, I mean the chiefs.
Oh, the chiefs,
yeah,
yes.
Those
Yes,
yeah. And so which administrations have you served under in your position with the city?
Warner Wiley was mayor when I first was hired, because
So
he had just left the police chief
Okay.
position, and so he was, he was mayor, and then he was mayor up until, the whole 17 years that I was working
okay.
there.
And once Mayor Wright took over, that's when your position changed?
Yeah, he actually offered me a job as his assistant when he was elected.
And what does your position entail now?
I do all of his scheduling, answering the calls, even the good ones and the bad ones, kind of along the same lines as dispatching. You got to take the good with the bad. Doing a lot and now I answer all the calls basically in the city too, so I can kind of direct people in the right direction. I kind of have a lot of background to know where people need to go, and that's from dispatching. So if somebody calls and they need a certain thing, then just from my background, I know who they need to talk to or where they need to be transferred to.
And just on an average, in the city of Beech Grove, how many calls will you take in a day? Just on an average
In the mayor's
day?
office?
Yeah,
or
in the mayor's office. Yeah, how many calls does the mayor get a day?
It varies. It depends on what's going on in the city at the time.
Yeah, I'm sure
And
there's
if
certain
people are
times-
happy or if they're unhappy.
And
yeah.
if the
If they're
sewers
happy,
are
it's
working,
nice, right?
But
Yeah,
okay.
it can be quiet, but then there's times where it can get pretty hectic.
And this time of year, you taking any calls on potholes or anything?
Oh, yeah. Lots of them, yeah.
And in the winter, I'm sure you take the calls
The
about
snow
getting the
removal.
snow removal and
Yeah.
all those types of things.
Yeah.
What's your favorite part of the job?
The people that I've been able to meet, the contacts that I've met. There's actually a group of women, mayor's assistants, that get together once a year, have a conference, and it's actually this week in French Lick. I'm not going this year, but and just the people that I've met, and it's incredible, and getting to know people and where they've been and what they do and that kind of thing. So it's been interesting.
Would you say since you talk to people from around the state, would you say your position here in town is similar to most cities, or is there some things that make this one unique? Or
I'd say it's pretty similar. We all, it's a great network to have too, to get to know all the other ladies. And there's some men that are assistants too, don't get me wrong. But that's what's good about the conference, because we can sit and talk about our jobs, and and I've a couple years ago sat and talked to a lady from a very small town. She was the mayor's assistant, and I think she was also maybe like the dog catcher. I mean, yeah. So it's but we all have a lot of the same similarities.
We do know that we'll talk about your family here. We'll shift gears a little bit, go from professional life to your family life. We have one right here in this building we see every day, thankfully, and there's no doubt who he belongs to.
Yeah.
And we have Jonathan here. Tell us a little bit about your family and who's in Beech Grove and who's not, and where everybody is.
Well, I actually have 6 brothers and sisters. My oldest brother, Mark, is graduated in 1970. This is a test. 4, I believe. 74 from Beech Grove. He's in North Carolina. My sister, Lori, is in Beech Grove, Durban. So my niece goes to school here. My sister Lynn is in Beech Grove, and my sister Karen is now in Beech Grove, and she's got an 8th grader who'll be moving up. My brother Kenny's also in Beech Grove. So we're all pretty much around here.
Stay close to home.
And then, of course, Jonathan is here. He's a freshman. Lindsay Jackson, my daughter, she is now enrolled at Lincoln Tech and graduated in '07 from here. So.
And just out of curiosity, what's Lindsay doing now? She's
still
full-time student?
Yeah, she's full-time student at Lincoln Tech. Doing real well.
Doing well, good.
Yeah.
Good. I guess, it just dawned on me, this is your 25th.
Yeah, we're planning our reunion. Yeah.
In those 25 years, as you look back on your opportunities, you obviously like Beech Grove. You've never left it. What kinds of things would you are going to tell somebody. You got one in your house right now.
Right.
What kinds of things, as you look back, and what kind of experiences can you share with all of our students that would help them to understand, number one, the culture of Beech Grove, the climate of Beech Grove, and the opportunities they have here? Because that's one of the things about the Alumni Hall of Fame. I think all 153 members would tell me the same thing, that they do appreciate the opportunities and they do appreciate the chances they've had here. Tell us a little bit about how you feel about that type of thing.
Well, I think, and I think most kids in high school will agree, they all want to get out of Beech Grove. You're in high school, and that's, there's nothing to do here. And I was one of those, and I just couldn't go far. I just never got far enough away. And then when it was time for school, and I wanted my kids to go to Beech Grove. Bill and I had some discussions. We didn't live in Beech Grove at the time. We just lived just south of Thompson Road. So, we talked about tuition, and we talked about Ron Colley, and because Lindsay went to Holy Name, and we moved. We moved back to Beech Grove. So I think that's the thing. I think as the kids now, they think it's not a great place. There's nothing to do, but it's a great place. It really is. And it's a great place to raise a family.
And that's what I was getting ready to say. I was going to put words in your mouth, but it was too late. And it's a great place to go to school, and we're very proud of that fact. Again, we're speaking with Terry Sinsbo, our Alumnus of the Month for May of 2010. We'd like to thank her for coming in today and taking time out for fielding those phone calls. We need to remind everyone that as the school year winds down here in the month of May, that obviously the big thing going on will be at 10 a.m. This will be different than past years. Graduation will be at 10 a.m. on May 29th. We are looking forward to having graduation at that time. Hopefully the gym will be nice and cool and everyone can be comfortable. And we plan to graduate about 150 seniors. And also Baccalaureate will be held on the 27th of May. That's a Thursday evening, and that will be held at 7:30 in the auditorium. So those are the two big items for May. There are tons of athletic events going on. A lot of athletic fundraisers are going on, which I'm sure you'll hear about and see in the near future. This is a big time for the fine arts in Beech Grove High School. The Spring Spectacular is in May, of course, with Mr. Bradford and the choral department. The band, our state finalist band, will be performing in concert in May. The fine arts, the art show is coming up. Actually, as we're taping this, the art department is preparing for competition in the Indiana Crossroads Conference art competition. So there are a lot of neat things going on that affect a lot of students here in Beech Grove, and we're excited for every one of them because between the music and the athletics and the fine arts, and we'll be putting in some, I think, 20-some new Honor Society members. So it's a real neat time for anybody in any area. And when you come in and visit us this May, Terry's pictures and her materials will be on display in the front case. I told her when I informed her of her selection that May is the big month because that's when everybody's in school to see graduation and so forth. So we're excited about what's going to happen. We're very proud of the class of 2010. They have been great representatives to Beech Grove High School, and when they get to their reunion year in 2035, we'll probably be talking to a few of them. Someone will. Yeah. And so we wish everyone a happy summer. Again, congratulations to Terry for her recognition, and thanks to you for watching this year, and we'll look forward to seeing you next August on the Hornet Spotlight. Welcome to the Hornet Spotlight, and one of the things we're going to do today is honor an outstanding scholar athlete with the Edwards Jones Investment Scholar Athlete Award. Unfortunately, Brian Denbo, who represents Edwards Jones, is unable to be here. Kind of make the connection, investments, April, taxes. He's a pretty busy man right now, and he sends his regrets that he can't be here today for this, because I know he always enjoys these meetings that we have with our scholar athletes. And so again, in absentia, Brian, thank you very much for participating in this program and recognizing some great athletes here at Beech Grove High School. And for the month of April, no exception, Ms. Lauren Hudson is our Scholar Athlete of the Month for April. And Lauren is a track person. Lauren is an outstanding track person. She is in her 4th year of track at Beech Grove High School. And she is a hurdler by trade. She specializes in the hurdles, and she is also a member of 2 relay teams here at Beech Grove High School. So we're going to kind of rattle off all these accomplishments, then we're going to talk to Lauren for a minute. Lauren in the 300 hurdles is a regional qualifier. She placed 7th in the regional. She also participates in the 100-meter hurdles. She is a member of the 4x100 relay team, which she is, at the present time, I believe, running the anchor leg, correct?
I have, yes.
And she has. And she is also a member of the 4x4 team. She's been on that team for 4 years now. As a freshman, she was a part of the school record breaking team, so she is a school record holder in the 4x4, and that team also qualified for the regional last year, her junior year. So she is also a 2-time captain of the girls track team, and she has certainly been a big asset on the not cinders anymore, the synthetic surface. We're showing our age. And she is also dynamite in the classroom. She has a 2.9 grade point average. Her intent right now is to attend Anderson University, which of course is in Anderson, Indiana. And she has her eyes set on becoming an athletic trainer. So, first of all, congratulations, Lauren, and on behalf of Edwards Jones Investments, we'll present you with your medal. Talk to us a little bit about the hurdles. Before we came on air, you told us that you preferred the 300 hurdles to the 100. Tell us a little bit about the difference between the two and why you prefer the 300.
Well, the 100 hurdles is more speed and technique, and 300 hurdles is distance and endurance. and speed. And I like the 300s better because of this. 100s it's harder to maintain your speed if you don't have the best technique, and I don't have like the best technique out of everybody.
Just for those of us who don't know, this is going to sound like a silly question, but in the 300 hurdles, how many flights of hurdles are there? How many times do you have to go over the hurdles? 8 times. And in the 100 meters, how many times?
10.
10. So obviously, in the 100-meter race, it's all technique, isn't it? You could be fairly slow, but if your technique's really good, you can make up a lot. And then in the 300, it's a lot more of
speed and endurance.
Speed and endurance, and that is your strength around the 4x4, and you are a good middle distant person, so that kind of fits your style, right? And what's the best time you've recorded so far in your 300 highs this year? Or 300 hurdles, not highs? That'd be a real killer.
Yeah, that'd stink. A 50.
50 flat?
Like 50 point something.
And what's the sectional qualifier for that?
Lauren has to knock off probably
2
to 3 seconds to
in
have.
3 weeks.
Yeah, she has about 3 weeks to knock off 2 to 3 seconds to be. If she does that, she should place in the top 2 or 3 in the sectional and make it to regional.
So doable, right? Doable. Tell us, we mentioned you're interested in going to Anderson University and becoming an athletic trainer, which a very, very good selection of schools because Anderson's athletic training is known statewide. What kind of developed your interest in Anderson and the athletic training program there?
Well, Anderson's Division III, so I can run track and not have to have it as like a job. If I went to Division II, to where you have to go to practice, I can focus on athletic training and focus on track if I wanted to. And athletic training, I've always liked sports, and it's a way that I can stay within what I like.
Hang around the athletes and learn some things and do some neat things. Well, congratulations. Lauren, I don't think I mentioned, is a senior at Beech Grove High School. Since we've got her in college next year, I guess kind of gathered that. So congratulations to Lauren. With her here, Lauren, we already mentioned Lauren is kind of the rose between two thorns today. The thorn on the other side, on her right, is Coach Dan Bender, who heads up both the men and women track team here at Beech Grove High School. And he's coached Lauren, how many years now, Dan?
This is my 4th year.
4th year, so he knows her pretty well. Tell us a little bit about her strengths and what she brings to your track team and how she's developed since she was a freshman.
Well, the biggest thing with Lauren is she has natural ability and has, a natural gift and is faster than probably the average person. But the biggest thing that she's done for 4 years is work hard to develop those natural talents. And if there's a day of practice and Lauren's not there, then something's wrong with her. I mean, she's been sick or she's been hurt or, I don't know, abducted or something, because she is always there at practice and she always does the workouts. Over the course of her 4 years, she's had misfortune to be injured a few times. She's been sick a few times. She's had kind of bad luck that way. And unfortunately, I think that's why she has not made it quite as far as she would like to have so far. I think she would have had a good chance to make it to state the last couple of years if it weren't for those things. But as a positive, I think they've also taught her that you have to overcome adversity, and you can't say, well, I don't feel that great today, I just have to take the day off and take it easy, because she realizes, I think, that you may not get another day. I'd also I'm going to disagree with what you said a little bit ago, because I think the 300 hurdles is her best race, not necessarily because she has bad technique, but because the 300 hurdles, and then when she gets in college, the 400 hurdles, those are tough. I mean, if you are not a tough person, and if you are not somebody that is willing to go out and run full speed when your lungs are burning and your legs are burning and you just sort of feel like you want to die, you're not going to make it in those races. And she has that sort of toughness, and that's why she's able to excel in that race more than the 100 hurdles, where you get a lot of sprinters who have maybe even more natural speed than she does, and they think, well, I'm not quite fast enough to run the 100, I can run the hurdles. And whereas with Lauren, it's more she's a hurdler and she may not quite have the speed, but she's tough enough to do what she needs to do to finish. So.
And it hurts when you hit him.
Yeah, it does hurt when you hit them.
Maybe all those injuries and illnesses is why she's decided to get into athletic training.
She may have more experience than a lot of people on that, yeah.
Let's talk about the track team as a whole. Lauren obviously is one of the captains to the track team.
Right.
We are still, she's the athlete of the month for April, but April's pretty much over with as we tape this today. Tell us about the high points early in the season, low points, things that are going to happen here as we move into May, into the conference, sectionals,
Right.
those types of things. Tell us a little bit about your track program, Coach.
The track program's moving in the right direction. We had 2 years ago, which was the first year that I was acting head coach for about half of the season 2 years ago. And that season we had about 25 athletes, boys and girls. Now, last year, we raised it up to the place where we had about 45 to 50 athletes for the entire year between the men's and women's program. And this year, we started out with 80. We had about 50 men and about 30 women. Now we're down to 50 because there are about 25 or 30 of Lauren's peers that have decided that they needed to get a job, or they really didn't need to come to practice absolutely every day, or they just had other things they wanted to worry about. But the good thing about where the program is now is that even with those people that have fallen by the wayside, we have 50 athletes. And that's double or triple where we were a few years ago. We also have probably 4 times as many middle schoolers out, and so next year we're going to try and have a freshman team, which will be separate. We would have had a freshman team this year, but we had 3 kids get hurt, and they weren't able to participate, and 2 kids moved away, which sort of hurts. So if you're out there and you want to do track, don't move. That didn't help us. But the program is moving in the right direction. We have, I would suspect on the men's side, we have probably 4 to 5 events that have at least an outside chance of making it to the state meet this year. On the women's side, we probably have 3 or 4. That's never a guaranteed. It's extremely difficult, especially in the sectional and the regional that we're in, to make it to the state meet. For those
people need to understand.
For those of you,
no class.
there's no class in track. So for those of you that don't realize this, we're in a sectional with Warren Central, who's always ranked in the top 2 or 3 in the state, Franklin Central, Roncalli, and then there are some smaller schools about our size. And then when you go to the regional, you add in Center Grove and Columbus North and Columbus East, and you add in a bunch of other Whiteland, you add in a bunch of other big schools. So, to make it to regionals, you have to be in the top 4 in the sectional, which means you're beating at least 1 or 2 of the girls from, or boys from Warren or from Franklin Central or wherever. And then to make it to the state, you have to be in the top 3 in your event in the regional, which means that you are probably beating, I would guess, somewhere between 8 to 10 athletes from a 4 or 5A school. And the talent at those schools is not necessarily greater, but there's a lot more competition, and that's why we need more kids, because we're trying to get more competition on the team.
And it sounds like, from what you said, you've got the program moving in the correct direction. You've got some young kids coming up.
We do.
And we're losing some good ones, obviously,
Right.
but the obvious strength to really any program, but especially a track program or a football program, something that relies on numbers. You can win a lot of track meets with depth.
Yes, you can.
And that seems to be where we're headed. I know we have a little more depth on the guys' side than we have the girls this year, right?
We do. We have more depth on the guys. We have more people, more guys out. For whatever reason, it's been difficult the last couple of years to get a lot of girls out for the track team.
It's hard.
Yeah, I don't know if the girls out there are more interested in other things in the spring, and prom's over now, and so that's some stress out of some girls' lives probably. But we always need more of those. Also, along with the depth, the other thing that helps our program is I'm very lucky to have outstanding assistant coaches. We have Coach Starks, who's here in the building, We have Coach Pfeiffer, Coach Ron, Coach Collins, and Coach Jones. We have a lot of people. I mean, I have 3 paid assistant spots, and I think I have 5 or 6 assistants because people are donating their time, and they're all experienced, and so that's helped an awful lot.
What are some of the big meets we're looking at here as we get into May?
Next week, next Friday, Friday, May 7th, I believe, is the conference meet, and that's at Lapel. And then the week following that, you have county, which is Tuesday and Wednesday. Girls are on Tuesday, boys are on Wednesday, and that's at North Central. And then the week after that, Tuesday is girls sectional, and Thursday is boys sectional. And then from there on, it's every Tuesday and Thursday. It goes from sectional to regional and on to state.
So it's time to start peaking, right? Okay, and obviously I know you've been working real hard with these kids since January inside, the ones that were involved in winter sports, and I remember seeing Lauren in there a few times, and track is a difficult sport, but it's a very satisfying sport as well because there is a lot of individual work involved. So thanks, Coach Bender, for giving up some of your time today to come in here, and Lauren, congratulations again on being named the Scholar Athlete of the Month. Good luck to you in conference and in county and in sectional, and as you move beyond that, because we're looking forward to seeing some people in the regional and the state tournament series this year. And again, we've been with Dan Bender, change your name on me, Dan Bender, the head men's and women's track coach here at Beech Grove High School, and senior Lauren Hudson, our Scholar Athlete of the Month from Edwards Jones Investments. Have a good April as we finish it up, and look forward to May, and look forward to seeing you here in the high school for on May 29th, right?